Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about consequences. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, what are the consequences of hiring an overqualified software engineer? Well, it's usually one of two things. Either they're going to leave your company or they're going to try to stimulate themselves. Either thing is okay. The stimulation thing might not be as bad as the leaving, but it can be very dangerous if it's not controlled. Let me explain this a little bit. So the obvious thing is that that's usually the case for any overqualified person. If you just hire someone who is either vastly too good for a specific position or something like that, I mean, it's hard to tell what you mean by overqualified because it can mean so many different things, and in different industries it's going to mean different things as well. But what you're looking for is if you're looking at an individual who very clearly is just using this company as a stepping stone, as an employer you have to make a way off here, because if you're really desperate to just find one to fill the spot and this person seems to fit and you're not that worried that they're going to leave, then hire them. That's not going to be a problem. In software engineering it may not be the best thing, because usually what you're looking for a person who is willing to make an investment of at least a few years ideally, because it usually takes, one part is that it takes a little while to get them up to speed, and then it also takes a little while to get back the investment on finding them, and it takes a little while to spread domain knowledge and then have them actually share that with other coworkers and so forth. So it's a tricky game to play. It is a bit of a balancing act, but usually the average time a developer stays at one company is 2 to 4 years. That's the average. So if you can get them to stay at about that time, that's the best thing for you. And I mean, I've seen people just hire practically anybody who could pass the code test and was good enough at it, and sometimes it works out. In many cases it doesn't work out. It usually goes like they put them on some project without thinking about the aptitude or the person in question. And I mean, I can already say, like, I've won so many wagers on saying to my coworker, dude, within 6 months that person is going to quit, or that person is going to quit, or that person is going to quit, and I usually get it right. It's no, the timing is a little bit off here and there, but it usually ends the same way, because the thing is, guys, having the right person in the right role is a lot more complicated than just having the right qualifications. It's much more important to find a holistic good fit type of person for a role, because if you don't, you might actually get into a worse situation than if you just look at the qualifications themselves. So that's the one thing. The other thing is that they're going to try to stimulate themselves. And what that usually means is that they will go into a philosophical mode where they will try to make their mark on the company. They're going to try to push the company in a new direction or do something like that. And depending on the company that we're dealing with now, this can be a very good thing and can also be a very bad thing. Let's talk about the bad thing first. So if you are a company, and let's just be honest about this, because I think in your heart of hearts, unless you're completely clueless about how the work is done in IT, you can admit if you are a conservative corporation or conservative company who focuses on the quarterly profit margin, and like all, like revenue is the most important thing, etc., etc. Guys, it is okay to be a business. You don't have to be like Google. You can just make money for the sake of soulless money. There's a lot of people doing it. It's okay. So if you have an individual like this who's very, very talented, very, very skilled, and has all these new trendy ideas that Google wants to like stick the industry with, you might actually find that if you indulge this, they might actually fuck up your company really, really badly, because your company might have a very simple strategy. You might have a very simple development process or something that it's making you money. There's no real reason to try to hyper optimize it like they will do at Google, or try at, in many cases these people don't actually do that. They try to do it, but they are not as good at it because they know they believe that they understand how to do it, and in many cases they don't, and it doesn't turn out all that well for your company, because if they really did know what they were doing, they wouldn't just jump into it. They would actually consider the company and the structure and so forth. It's more complicated than, yeah, we'll just copy paste whatever idea that we got on this tech talk, right? So when you're facing such an individual, you have one of two choices usually. When this is the bad scenario, either you allow them because they're so qualified so that you want them to do this because you want to do something to keep them around, and this is a very big risk to your company, because if it turns out well, I mean, that's great, but it's also very likely that it's not going to turn out that well. And if you're not paying attention to this person and you're allowing your rock star image of them to take over, you might actually find out that you're in really deep doo-doo. Just because somebody used to work at Google, guys, or Facebook and so forth, that doesn't mean that they're actually any good. It just means that they passed a code test. You have to evaluate everybody. Anywho, that's the one thing you can do. The other thing is that you can say, okay, well, no, actually, all of these ideas, they're great, and it's great that you're pushing things, but I'm just going to shoot down all of these ideas. And what will happen in that scenario is that either the person is, as I earlier, they're going to quit, or they're going to become apathetic and just they won't care anymore. And that couldn't be a good thing for you, depending on how that works out. If they're just going to oh, yeah, I'm tired of life mode, and they just produce, well, then they're going to stay. That's perfect. You now have an overqualified code slave. But it can also spread a lot of negativity. If they're very verbose, very emotional types of people, they might actually damage the office itself and actually project a lot of vomit and bile around themselves, which can cause other sorts of problems. Now, if you are, on the other hand, in the positive, if you actually do want to see someone who is overqualified and actually wants to push for change, this is actually one of the best hires that you can make. If you are a company that wants to breathe new life into your engineering department, having an overqualified person come in and give them a role where you're transparent and you say, we have a shitty system, we need to fix this. There are guys, you may think that being transparent and say that this system is shit is a bad thing, like you're going to scare people away. No, there's a ton of developers who are going to go, okay, cool, this seems like an interesting process. It seems interesting for me to go towards the next thing. And here comes the key thing now. Are you going to stick by what? Are you going to put your money where your mouth is? Because if you have a overqualified software engineer, like a rockstar programmer on the hook, and you say, we are this so-and-so organization and we want to change the way we do work, we want to be better than we are today, they're gonna, the first thing, if they're any good, is that they're gonna ask, okay, well, what type of resources are you gonna dedicate? And here comes the magic moment. Are you gonna cave it in and just say, no, actually money is more important to us, and I know you're asking for too much, or no, I'm not going to do this because that's inconvenient, and so forth. If you don't show them an investment, just don't do this, because then, as I was saying, the other things are going to happen. However, if you can give this person the authority or the empowerment or the resource or whatever they need in order to make this thing happen, and you can trust them, they will change your company. It's a very hard road. It takes a lot from the organization, and it takes a lot from the developer. You need to have the right person, and even if you get someone who you think is really good, it's still a risk move, because you need to create a structure where where this person really proves that, yeah, I can actually do this. I can be a change type of person. And in some cases, the companies have this as a strategy. They pull in like a CEO or someone with a really high position who's they're just hired there to be there for a few years while they transform the company, and then they fire that person, or that person leaves, and someone else comes in who goes in back into maintenance mode. This is an entire company strategy, and you can leverage this, and it does work. It has been proven many times. It is also highly dangerous, because if you get the wrong person and if you don't empower them in the right way, they might fuck up the company even worse. So what I want you to take away from this is that if we have any consequences with hiring a overqualified engineer, is usually that they will quit very quickly when they realize that, hey, this company doesn't, you don't do anything interesting, so they're just going to leave. Other things that can happen is that they feel really demotivated, and they might spread a lot of bile around them and so forth. or they might actually try to over optimize everything, and they can actually fuck up the code base really, really badly because they're just bored. They're not actually allowed to do anything, so they just do all these things by themselves, which causes different sorts of problems, right? However, if you are an organization that is a little bit behind the times and you want to make a positive change for your engineering department, one of the best things you can do is to find a real rockstar developer who has the technical skills, who has the social skills, and has the passion to get shit done, and then put them in a position where they can do all of these things. It's gonna be costly, guys. It's going to cost some money, it's going to cost resources, and it's not going to come for free. But if you are serious about making a success case of your company and you feel like we have a shitty system, be transparent about it and find the right person to be the embodiment of the change that you want to see. Have a great day.